Hey guys, and welcome back to the official Sourcing with Kian YouTube channel. Today I've got a very special episode for you guys. I'm going to be talking about a lot of different important topics which are going on right now, and that's all to do with freight, 3PLs, logistics, warehousing, deliveries from China, Chinese New Year, deliveries into USA, into Europe, tariffs, duties, exchange rates. There's going to be a wide variety of topics discussed today, both by myself as well as Sharon Evan, who's a top Amazon seller and coach, and she's also got an awesome YouTube channel which I'll link below, as well as Refael, who's the CEO of Unicargo, a massive logistics and freight company. So we're going to be talking about all these different interesting topics, and what I've done is below I've also timestamped and linked all those different topics in the description of the video below. So if you hit description, you'll see everything that we talked about, and then if you want to go straight to a certain topic, you can click on that and just go to that part of the video. I've already chopped that up for you guys. But it's a great episode, and this was actually just a podcast episode that we recorded for Seller Sessions. But normally I don't post these types of videos because I do quite a lot of podcasts, but today I felt this was just action-packed, full of value, with stuff that we can apply to our businesses today and right now, and which will be applicable for the next sort of several months as we go into Chinese New Year and come out of it, as well as Q1 going into Q2. So super interesting topics. It was a lot of fun to chop it up, and I looked forward to seeing you guys in the video. But if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell to turn on post notifications if you want to stay up to date with the latest of what's going on in China, and to also see more videos like this. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into it, and I'll see you guys on the episode.
Welcome to Seller Sessions. I'm your host today, Sharon Evan, and today I have with me the one and only Kian from Sourcing with Kian and Refael from Unicargo. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being on.
Guys.
Hey Sharon, what's up? Thanks for having me.
This is like the ultimate situation for me because we're all really good friends, the three of us. So it's really awesome. I'm sure that everyone knows you both. Kian, you've been on this podcast like probably 1 trillion times, but for the people that don't know you, can you just give us a brief intro?
Sure, yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back on Seller Sessions. Danny, hope to see you again soon as well. Yeah, my name is Kian. I've been living and working in China for the past 10 years, and in that time I've manufactured over 2,500 products, visited more than 500 factories, and attended more than 20 Canton fairs. That has led me to work for a lot of different brands, licenses, retailers, and also help Amazon private label sellers as well. I've got a YouTube channel, Sourcing with Kian, Facebook group of the same name. Happy to talk anything sourcing, product development, and all that fun stuff.
Thanks, Kian. And Refael, for the people who don't know you, which is nobody in my group because everyone knows you in my town.
Yeah, so hey everybody, great to be here. I'm Refael, CEO of Unicargo. Basically, I've been dealing with freight forwarding for Amazon sellers since, I don't know, the past 6-7 years. Been there, done that, touched almost every possible scenario an Amazon seller can encounter with the logistics. I would say I've been involved in over 100,000 shipments, going to Amazon in the past years. So just seen it all, and always happy to talk and, discuss these topics because that's what I do.
Cool. So today, I usually before, you guys know I'm a YouTuber, so I'm not used to podcasting, so I'm getting used to it. But usually I will make a list of questions, and today we're all freestyling because this is like such a difficult subject in general, especially for people who are actively selling and sourcing. So we're going to freestyle it today. So today's main topic, we're going to talk about number one, China and what's going on in China just before New Year, Chinese New Year, etc. And then we're going to get into, I called it I said logistics is broken, and then we have here Jacob said it's not broken, it's just different. That's debatable. It is different, but to me it's also definitely broken. There's a lot of things going on, and Refael will definitely get more into that as well. So let's dive in.
I relate to the broken side of things. Yeah,
I really relate to the broken side of things as well. I've got some people here who's just saying hello. Stuart's here with the tacos. Hey, Stuart. Yaro's here like always. Hello. And so is Joanne. Hello to everyone. So I thought that what we could start off with is first of all talking about what's happening in China right now with the virus starting to sort of come back and all sorts of things. So Kian, let's give us an update of all sorts of things that are going on in China and also just before Chinese New Year.
Cool. Yeah, let's jump into it. So I think when we think of China, right, it's important to know that China is not a one-size-fits-all policy. It's a massive country, right? And every province is different. Every province is sort of governed by itself as well. So just consider that if we talk about, what's going on in China right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that what's going on directly applies to you. Each province will be entirely different because we've seen that there's been like local lockdowns going on in China in the last sort of few weeks, but that's been mainly in the north, and the south hasn't been greatly affected. Also, in the middle of China, in like the Zhejiang province, they've tried to restrict production of factories because they're trying to restrict with lockdowns and stuff like that. And they've done that by switching off the power, switching off the electricity in some factories just so that they can't produce. And that's happened to a number of my factories as well. So wow. There have been local lockdowns. And the crazy thing about these local lockdowns, right, the whole world is having it, right? But it causes panic at a time where they're just about to go into the biggest people migration in the world. Over 100 million people travel over Chinese New Year. And for those of you who don't know, Chinese New Year is on the 12th of February, so not too far away. But because of that, they're going to go on holiday about a week before. So in the next few days, beginning of February is when we're going to see people travel back to go back home. However, they don't want millions of people jumping on trains, spreading the virus, which is exactly how it spread this time last year during Chinese New Year. So they've tried to restrict that by putting people in lockdowns. And then as a result, people are now worried that, okay, I can't go home for New Year. I can't see my kids, because bear in mind, a lot of people travel to work in these areas and their children are raised by their parents, by the children's grandparents. So they're like, this is the 1 month of the year where I get to see my kids and I might not be able to go home. So now they're like, okay, screw this. I'm just leaving the factory now and I'm just going to jump on a train while I can before it gets crazy before Chinese New Year. So now like the factories that I've been talking to have just got workers leaving left, right and center. And that's no way that you can plan your orders and complete your production and things like that. So me personally, I've had a lot of my delivery dates affected and factories saying, hey, I know we promised you before Chinese New Year, but it's just not possible. Your orders are going to be after Chinese New Year now. So I think, anyone listening, if you are expecting an order to go out before Chinese New Year, just double, triple check that, check in with your manufacturer every day, make sure they're still on schedule, because if you haven't heard from them, you might get a bit of a surprise. And that's greatly affected our production. But as I said, it's a case-by-case situation by different provinces. So best to check in on that. The other thing is that, Refael's going to talk about shortly about the whole logistics situation. But the prices have been going up recently in the last few weeks in China. And not only because of the logistics situation, because, if you're shipping DDP, then your price includes the logistics. But exchange rates the Chinese RMB has strengthened a lot. I think it's been about 8% in the last few months. And I'm not a Forex expert, but from what I read into it, it's because the Chinese economy strengthened and went back to normal before anyone else during this virus situation. So they were able to get their economy pumping again and going, and as a result, their RMB currency strengthened. And how that affects us is that now Chinese goods are more expensive to purchase, the supplier makes less money on every US dollar that they receive. So I think right now the rate is like $1 is like 6.4 something RMB. But just a few months ago, $1 was 7.1 RMB. So it's a difference of almost like 10%. So if you pay your factory $50,000 for a PO a few months ago and then $50,000 today, they're making, about $5,000 less. And they pass, just because on the exchange rate, they have to exchange those US dollars into RMB. And because of that, they then pass that over back onto us to increase our prices. Now, there's a few things you can do to get around that. A lot of suppliers like to have bank accounts outside of China as well, because a lot of them don't like to keep all of their wealth inside China. So you can also ask your manufacturer, look, do you have a US dollar bank account? Do you have a Hong Kong bank account that I could pay there? And some of my suppliers do have that. So I've been, using that. Also, the other thing is you can say is to split the cost 50-50 as well. Yes, the exchange rate has gone 8% in your favor. However, we can't afford more expensive goods in a market which is very saturated. So can we agree on 4% and just split the cost like 50-50? Or if you have been doing business with China for a long time, in end of 2018 was the reverse situation where the dollar strengthened and they were actually making a lot more money, and they never told us about it and never passed on a discount. So you can go on a website called xe.com, and that allows you to monitor the exchange rate historically, and you can graph it. So if you go on there and look at your purchase orders or look at your payments to your factories and see when you placed them, any orders that you placed in 2018, just click, when you go to xe.com, click on charts, find the date of when you paid your suppliers, like previous orders, and then just check, compare that to the rate it is today, and then just say, hey, we never asked for a discount when it was in our favor, so we don't expect to pay more at this time. And then just they're like, oh, he knows about this stuff, so they get a bit surprised. So those are a few things you can do to get around it. But yeah, that's basically the summary of China. Factories are expected to go back to work the offices are expected to go back to work around 20th of February. Factories, we're not sure. If I was to give you an exact date, I would have to bring my crystal ball out, because we don't know what the travel situation will be. If there'll be lockdowns, when people go back home, will they be allowed to travel back to the factories? So we would envision, hopefully, end of February, beginning of March, but anything can change in the meantime. But we'll be keeping a close eye on it, and we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, that's about China right now.
We were talking just before this, and I was telling you that I'm being very careful what I'm saying this time around, because last year at this time, when just before Chinese New Year came and the pandemic just started, it wasn't even a pandemic yet, it was just inside of China. It hadn't even, become what it is today. I was like, oh, this and this will happen, and everything I said didn't happen. And also we all said all sorts of things. So we're being careful what we're saying, but I spoke to my suppliers and I got the dates that they're going to officially close down on the 6th, but they're already at less than half capacity now on the 6th of February, and opened it back up on the 20th of February. Kian, Stephen's asking if you're still in Dubai, and you are still in Dubai. So, oops, I just will bring that back up.
Yeah, so, Stephen, I'm still here. They've not kicked me out yet.
Cool. So Stephen also said lockdowns are affecting supply of raw materials, etc. For example, steel, which has delayed one of our shipments. And Saibi, who is on every single podcast and is really awesome, says, hi guys, COVID lockdown in the, how do you pronounce that area, Kian?
Hubei.
Hubei region. Stopped all truck movements for 10 days. They are open again since Tuesday. So before we get into the whole logistics side of things, Refael, which a lot of the headache is also actually in America, not just in China. There's also a whole headache there. What is your take on what's going on right now in China and your experience from the freight forwarder side, and what you're seeing through clients as well?
Yeah, well, Chinese New Year was what is, logistics wise is one of the most challenging times of the year, none without COVID, so with COVID it's even harder. Let's keep COVID aside, every year, like a week, 2 weeks before Chinese New Year, before the actual holiday, we see, huge lines. For example, if you have a less than container load, where you have to get your cargo into a bonded warehouse to get consolidated in a container. Right now, as of today, in Shenzhen, the wait in line to get the cargo in is about 24 hours. All right, which means when the driver comes in, he has to sit 24 hours until he can hand over the freight. In Shanghai, Ningbo, east of China, we're talking about 48 to 72 hours. 48 to 72 hours with the driver sitting in his truck for 3 days and waiting to to deliver the goods to the bonded warehouse. So that's the situation right now. As somebody mentioned here, a lot of the raw materials that coming out of the north are just shut down. So we've seen a lot of our client products, suppliers are saying, hey, we are sorry, but the cargo is not going to be ready. We just don't have the raw material to finish the production, and it's going to wait until after the Chinese New Year. Container-wise, in China, we are seeing like the worst situation we've ever seen before, like China's ever seen before, as far as equipment. You know, they just don't have empty containers. It's just crazy. It's becoming very, very hard to actually get an empty container when you ship full container loads. So what happens is the shipping line will give you a booking, right? The shipping line will give you what they call an SO shipping order, which means you have a receipt that you can have your trucker go to the shipping line, to the dockyard, and try to pull a container. But when they go in, they just don't have an empty container. What happens is, because of the backlogs in the States and the backlogs in Europe, because the virus is hitting very hard there, containers are just not getting unloaded. They are sitting on vessels waiting to be unloaded. They are sitting on chassis because 3PLs are bursting out and they don't have space to unload those containers. And basically, empty containers are not coming back to China. So there is a severe shortage of container, like it's the worst it's ever been, like ever. You know, rates are going through the roof, like triple the usual rates for full container loads. And not just that, today you'll pay $5,000, $6,000 for a container, and if you want to guarantee a container, you add up another, a premium fee. And that will only give you a booking and a container, but nobody gives you. There is no certainty that you'll be on that vessel. A lot of these containers will get rolled over to the next week, and sometimes for 2 weeks ahead. And then you can pay another premium fee, what they call a diamond booking, add another $2,000, and you'll be guaranteed. But then you're looking at $7,000, $8,000 for a container, and that's main ports. If you're going into inland like Chicago, Dallas, Kansas, stuff like that, you're coming almost to $10,000 a container, which is insane, just insane. So situation is that's China side, right? US side, Long Beach is just been a mess for the past, I would say, almost 3 months now. They just don't have the manpower to unload the vessels. They just truckers are not coming in for work. A lot of these people are just scared because there's a huge infection rate. People just get sick, and a lot of these people who just afraid going to work, they just sit at home and stay at home. They say, hey, it's not worth it. Our salary just doesn't worth it, and they just prefer sitting at home, which means there's no equipment, there are no drivers, so prices are going up. And it's just a mess, right? It's just a mess. We are seeing containers sitting at the ports because there are no drivers to pick them up, and shipping line don't care. You still pay your detentions, you still pay your demurrage, which means like storage, because if you don't pick up the container, you're gonna pay storage, right? It's a headache. It's a big headache. I've seen a lot of people lose their pants, in that Q4, in the past Q4. It's just crazy. I've seen people lose their businesses because they make out to Q4. Some of these sellers are, the Q4 is their biggest selling season. Some of these products are really seasonal products where, if you don't have Q4, you basically lost your whole year. And they didn't plan that out. Nobody knew that's worse. And to be honest, right now out of LA, we're looking at about almost 50 vessels waiting to be unloaded, just sitting there and waiting to be unloaded. And it's just it's not gonna get better. It'll take some time until we'll get back to normal. Nobody knows when it's gonna be. But yeah, we just gotta sit tight. And
on the Amazon side of things, because of all of these restrictions, now everyone's also now needing 3PLs, which wasn't. I mean, everyone's always needed warehousing and 3PLs. I mean, you guys at Unicargo have always had that option. But now everyone, like almost every single seller, needs a 3PL. So there's also a huge shortage in room and space now for 3PLs, which is crazy. I know a lot of people, you and I, Refael, did a video like June last year about it. And then many people are telling me, Sharon, like there's no 3PLs. And I'm like, I don't have any more for you. There's it's so difficult to find. I've heard that, people are
funny and weird. Me and you did a video on 3PL and talked about pricing and how the pricing structure work and how does it work, in the 3PL. And I don't know, a month later, I told you, hey, we are shutting down. We can't get any people because we are losing it.
Yeah,
it's weird and it sucks, but that's the situation right now. We still don't accept any new clients to 3PL because
3PLs.
And UK 3PLs are, it's a mess. They don't have the manpower. Europe is even worse than the US. They just don't have the manpower, and it's scary.
So if we try and think of how are Amazon sellers or e-commerce business owners today supposed to handle this situation? If we try and think of tips as well, I mean, a lot of the people listening on seller sessions are already experienced sellers. There's also the newer sellers, but mostly experienced sellers. Today specifically, I mean, we were just talking about it. Somebody here said, also Stephen said here that, I'm trying to bring it up if it'll show, that he's got a container that to the UK at 14 pounds.
14, yeah.
14,000 pounds.
4 months ago, it was 2,000 pounds. It's like 7 times higher.
Sea shipping in general, but it's also a lot higher also to the US, not just to the UK. How much is it times
but
more?
UK is the worst it's ever been. UK is the worst. It's even worse than the US. US is about 2 to 3 times more, and UK is 7 and 8 times more.
Wow.
People are crying out. Also to Israel, imports to Israel. It's all over the world. People are crying out. It's all over the news. Importers need to raise their prices now, and the consumer is gonna pay it eventually, right? But it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, Sharon, you'd mentioned, what the Amazon sellers and e-commerce guys can do right now, because obviously it's a very, very tough situation. One of the things I've been recommending is, obviously with the freight prices being so high, it's not profitable for certain products and for certain people to ship their products at the moment. But I was sort of telling people to utilize their manufacturer's storage as well, because quite a lot of these factories do have their own warehousing and they do have their own sort of space, depending if they're a factory or a trading company, but even trading companies will have connections as well to say, hey guys, look, it's far too expensive at the moment to ship products out. That, you can see that. Can we hold, and obviously ship what you need, because you don't want to go out of stock. Ship what you need. Maybe if like you've made like 10,000 goods, maybe ship like 20-30% of it and then keep the rest in your factory's warehouse. And if we anticipate that shipping costs will go down, no one really knows, but if they do go down after Chinese New Year, maybe March, April, then ship out the remainder then. And the other thing you can do as well is that, similar to what I said about the exchange rates, about splitting that cost with the factory, that's also something I've done with the shipping costs with my factories as well, to say, hey, look, freight rates have doubled, tripled, quadrupled, whatever. That's a cost that I have to burden. And if I don't ship these goods, then I'm not going to make any sales. If I don't get any sales, you're not going to get more orders. So if you want, let's split the increase of the freight cost 50-50. I'll cover half of it, you cover half of it, and we'll get these goods out and we'll ship it and we'll sell more and we'll get more orders for after Chinese New Year. And they've been quite open about that as well. And that kind of goes back to stuff I've talked about before in terms of working in partnership with your factory, because they want to see you win so that they win as well. So if you explain it in a way like, rather than saying, hey, give me $4,000 for this container, just say, explain it in a way that, hey, if I don't ship it, I'm not going to make as many sales and you're not going to get as many orders. So let's work together here. And I've had some success doing that as well.
That's an interesting perspective, actually.
Yeah. I think that it makes sense for people who have a good relationship with their suppliers, which is what you were saying, which is very, very important. And also, someone who's got history with their suppliers as well, because a newbie can't come and say that, right? A newbie don't even try and say that, because they're basically going to say, F off.
Ignore you and delete you.
Yeah. Toby said, that's great advice, Kian. However, everyone is trying to store at the factories and now they're starting to burst at the seams. I was going to say that too. That
warehouses in China also, if you have a freight order has warehouses in China, and it's pretty cheap to keep storage there. So that's another way to utilize storage in China. Ask your freight order.
Yeah. So Refael, we'll just mention this because we're all either in lockdown or at home. So Refael is currently in quarantine because
I muted myself.
it's a good, I know, quarantine. So he has to be at home, and he's got three kids, right, under the age of 4.
Boys.
Three boys under the age of 4. He's stuck at home. Kian, can
single.
I say it? You are single, that's true. But Kian also was in quarantine. You're out now of quarantine, though, thank God.
Yeah, I'm free as a bird.
You're as free as a bird in Dubai. And then I'm in lockdown, so I'm not in quarantine, but I'm in lockdown. And both Refael and I are in lockdown because we're in Israel, but we've been in lockdown for ages. I just noticed that all three of us are in the Middle East, which is pretty cool right now. But anyway, so that's why you may hear some screaming in the background, but it is what it is because it's life's dynamic, and we're all dealing with this stuff. I think that I think it's difficult to predict whether pricing is going to go down or if it's usually in general. There's like this golden time where prices always go up before COVID or not COVID when it comes to freight forwarding for shipping specifically towards Chinese New Year, and usually. Before Chinese New Year, before COVID, and also there's a period of time where they go up, they stay up also a little bit after Chinese New Year as well, and then they usually even out. We just don't know what's going to happen this year.
Nobody knows, but again, by the market sentiment, it doesn't look like it's going to go down in March or April because, the situation is still going to be crazy, right? The US is still going to be crazy. It's still going to still gonna be congested like crazy. Empty containers are not gonna get back to normal in China. So again, nobody knows, but I assume by looking at what's happening now, I assume March, April still gonna be the same. Crazy high rates, lots of problems, and someone said in the beginning that logistics is not broken, it's different. That's true.
A perspective.
It's a different reality, and you again as an entrepreneur, you have to adjust yourself. You have no other time. You just have to adjust. So either you find that creative ideas, that creative solutions. A lot of people were asking on Facebook, how can we get our stuff, our cargo faster? If LA is such, is in such a big problem and is so congested, what can we do? So there are other things to do, like you can try and reroute your shipments through different ports. If you're working if you're getting your fulfillment centers or your 3PLs in the West Coast, you can try Seattle port. The last mile, the actual trucking from port to the 3PL is going to be much more expensive, right? But again, you gotta budget you gotta sit with yourself and see what's more important. Is it timing, speed of transit time, the faster transit time, or your budget? So it's very individual. Every business got its own priorities. Some of these businesses will sell, very high volume sells like thousands of units a month or thousands of units a day, and add up $3,000, $4,000 for a shipment. They don't care because they make more money when they have stock. And as Kian mentioned, if you have a lower margin product, you just can't do it, right? So it's all about adjustment. You have to adjust yourself to the new situation and embrace it, because it's here to stay for at least the next couple of months, at least.
Hey guys, do me a quick favor, and if you are getting value from this video, please smash that like button for me real quick, and that will tell YouTube that you like this content, and hopefully they will show it to more people. So thanks very much, and I will see you guys back on the podcast. Yeah.
Go for it, Kian.
Oh yeah, Refael, I was going to ask you a question, right? We have this container shortage. I was thinking surely the solution is just to manufacture more containers. Do you know what the process is there? How long it takes to make a container? Is it easy? Is it crazy expensive? And
I know that chassis are manufactured and the contracts are closed for the next 4 years now. Everybody is fully booked with manufacturer. I would assume container manufacturing is the same thing, because everybody knows about the situation. So everybody's trying to manufacture the equipment, and they're all working full capacity, but it's just not good enough. It just takes a lot of time. It's not. They're working on it. I know they're working on it, but from what I hear, everything is all production line are fully stocked, fully booked for the next 3-4 years, because people know about the situation, because people see what's going on in the world, and shipping line and trucking companies, they just need that equipment, so they just try to buy as much as they can.
And then, sorry.
Go for it, Kian. Go for it.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about like sea freight, but how's the situation with like air freight? Is that in a similar?
I was just going to ask that. I was going to say that for some people, it may make a lot more sense to do air freight or even air express right now more than to. I mean, obviously depending on the
depends on the size and volume of the shipment. But air freight, surprisingly, it was very, very high. If you remember, during April, May, June, July, August, but somewhere September, October, November, prices went back to normal. Really went back to normal, but now we are seeing a spike again. But that's a usual spike before the Chinese New Year. Air freight are pretty much, I don't know how, but they are back to capacity. So air freight rates were back to normal in the past 2 months. Now it's higher because of Chinese New Year, but I expect air freight rates to come back to normal around March, April, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and in terms of like prices of products, well, because we're talking about pricing of freight, if I could mention a little bit about price of products as well, I envision that we don't know when, but I think the price of products will come down because they are artificially high at the moment because of the exchange rate situation that we mentioned. But what's interesting is that China historically, whenever their currency gets too powerful, they deliberately devalue it because it greatly affects their export market. And export is absolutely massive for China, as you know. But as their RMB currency strengthens, their export becomes less popular. So they always control that. And I do think that they might weaken their currency after Chinese New Year if their exports have been greatly affected. The other thing you can do as well is something I always like to do at the start of the year, or the start of the Chinese year, is give my supplier like a forecast order. So depending on like how often you place your orders, you might do like 2,000 or 3,000 units like every 2 or 3 months. But I look at how many units I'm going to place like over the course of the year. And I would just say, look, I'm going to give you a forecast. And remember, a forecast is not a commitment. You're just envisioning how many you're going to order. And say, based on last year's sales, we did 10,000. I think this year we'll probably do like 13,000. So if you can go ahead and place the order for the raw materials for 13,000 units and keep them in your factory, we'll give you the deposit for the raw materials, and then we'll just pay you for the orders as they ship out. And this is great because you've secured your pricing at that price when they've just ordered all the bulk material. And then they always have your materials in stock as well. So you almost cut your lead times in half from like 60 days to 30 days. But again, going back to what I was saying before, this is only really like if you have a good relationship with your manufacturer, you have a bit of trust built up, you've ordered several times, orders have been growing, then they're more inclined to do something like this for you. If it's just your first or second order, you probably won't get this, but it's still a good exercise to sort of forecast how many units you'll order that year and have a discussion with your manufacturer to see how they can support you this year. So yeah, those are just a couple of things to be mindful on the price of the products.
By the way, that's a very good idea. By the way, we do it with shipping as well, but only for higher volumes. Like you have 20, 30, 40 containers a month, you can budget that and plan ahead with your freight forwarder, get fixed pricing on a contract rate, and get the same methodology on shipping as well.
So yeah, Nicholas here asked, what are the fixed costs? I'm thinking pickup fee, export clearance, paperwork fee, one-time custom bond on a shipment from China to the US.
That's a good question. I'm guessing you're talking about sea freight shipments. Now, the pickup fee depends on where your factory is located. How far is it from the port? So if it's like 200 kilometers from the port, it's going to be a different fee than if it's like half an hour drive from the port. So pickup fee, again, if your supply is located in the major areas, looking at around, again, it really depends on the volume you have. Looking at around 100, 150 bucks for the truck. Export custom clearance is around $50, $60. Paperwork, $20, $30. You're looking at around $200, $300 for an LCL shipment, less than a container load. If you're talking about full container loads, you're looking at around $900, $800. Again, depends on what port of exit or port of loading you're looking at, and the distance from your supplier to the actual port. But yeah, LCL is different. Full container loads are different. Obviously, if you're gonna have 20 CBM or you're gonna have 3 CBM, that'll affect the price as well. So there is no one answer to that. It really depends on the type of shipment, the size of your shipment, location of your supplier, etc., etc.
A good question would be also, Refael, we were seeing at least in the alpha group, that, and also people were experiencing that they weren't able to get stock out of their 3PLs and into Amazon for many different reasons. For example, also you guys were having not you, but some freight forwarders.
We had major difficulties in November, December. What happened is, 3PLs were manning up and preparing for Q4 like they always do. But most of the 3PLs, and we made that mistake as well, I gotta admit it. We never accounted for what's gonna happen with Amazon restrictions. So for example, if you as a seller, you come in Q4 and you want to stock up in Amazon, you make an order, you take out, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 pallets, you prepare your order, one order. But what happened with the restrictions that now you cannot send those 500 units, 600 units, 700 units because Amazon is restricting you. So 3PLs got, instead of one order, they got 5, 6, 7 orders from a client, and multiply that by hundreds and hundreds of clients, you're now getting thousands of unexpected orders, and you're just backlogged like hell. Add to that, West Coast, most of the 3PL workers, the actual people packing orders and shipping orders are from Mexico, right? They closed the borders due to COVID-19. So no manpower almost to pack orders. And a lot of our warehouses, and I'm sure other warehouses as well, because that's the business environment that we lived in. We had a lot of people infected, So if you have a person infected in the warehouse, now you gotta close the warehouse. You gotta shut down. Everybody's gotta get tested now. Wait till they get the results, and only then you can open the 3PL. And we have 4 locations in LA. And during November, December, we had 5, 6 times that our 3PL was shutting down, like closed. Our clients come to us and, hey, I want to ship my order, but the 3PL is closed. And we were in a very, very bad situation. And I literally couldn't sleep at night because I knew I was killing people's businesses. And I still want to cry when I talk about it because that's, me, how important my name and the reputation I've built around the years. And when people started, getting really mad and I felt really bad, and you really can't really do anything, right? The 3PL is shut, and you have thousands of orders now and no people to pack them. We flew people from Israel. We flew people from Israel to stay there, and we had people there for a month. Like we actually flew a team, and it was I was very active in social media. I disappeared in the past 4 or 5 months because we were working like crazy. It's crazy.
I think I know you very well, and you guys, I use your services and have been for a very long time. And I think it's important to hear the freight forwarders speak, and I think it's important for people to hear it from your side as well, because people don't understand that there's so many different, also in China with factories, there's so many different aspects and, moving parts when it comes to the supply chain and when it comes to also to logistics, that people are like, well, they haven't answered me, or this hasn't happened for 3 weeks, or this, and I'm like, I get it. I understand. We're all going through it, but, and it sounds like excuses, but it's not. It's just, logistics is all over the world. It's not just in the US. It's not just in the UK. All over. It's working very differently. And like you said, like we just have to adjust to the current situation. I think that like there is light at the end of the tunnel. At some stage, things will get better. It's just that right now, specifically, also it's even worse because Chinese New Year and everyone is, we just got a small shipment in right now, because we did it through your guys. We just got a small shipment in quickly just before Chinese New Year so that, we could like that we wouldn't go out of stock basically for one of our things. And that's another thing, actually, it's a good question to ask. I've had people recently say to me, I'm trying to get this and this done before Chinese New Year. And I'm like, What are you talking about? What freight forwarder is going to pick up your stuff in the next 2 days? Are you guys still picking up right now, Refael?
Well,
for
pickup costs are, doubled and tripled now in China because, as Kian said, a lot of these employees in China already go off to their holiday. Most of them, not most of them, but at least half of the people in China, the workers in China, already on the way to their home because they were. Sometimes it takes, because it's the biggest migration in the world, migration of people, it takes a lot of time. It takes them a week because it's just all crowded and overloaded with people. So people go like 7 days, sometimes 10 days before they actually go to their hometown. So we pick up goods, but if you have goods ready and if you can change your Incoterm, it's better if you have FOB terms. Have your supplier be in charge of getting the product to the port, because a lot of the times it'll be very, very expensive. Right now, instead of $100, it can cost you $500. Instead of $200, it costs you $800 because there are no drivers and prices are picking up because they have to stay so long at the ports. But air freight is moving out. Air express is moving out. Sea freight is moving out, but not for long.
Yeah, there's like what, 2 days left? No, maybe.
No, you can
not including the weekend.
I have it here. I wrote it down. See, air cutoff is 10th of February. So until 10th of February, you can still get our cargo out of air out of China by air. Courier Air Express also 10th of February. Sea freight 11th of February. 7th of February. So you still have time. You still have at least another week, but it's gonna be a bit more complicated, obviously, and it's not guaranteed. All right, some of these truckers, if you buy an X-Works, and some of these truckers will sit there for 72 hours and they'll just give up and go and turn around, and it also happens. So nothing's guaranteed. That's the big problem.
Saibi said, it's time to diversify. Stop buying from China and start baking cakes and carving wooden spoons.
Yeah.
As you guys were talking and Refael was saying about the biggest people migration in the world, I just had a thought to be like, all right, well, what's the biggest animal migration in the world? And I was Googling that. Can anyone guess what's the biggest animal migration in the world, right? So the result I got is the Arctic terns, and this is in terms of distance, right? It says Arctic terns hold the record for the longest annual migration recorded by any animal moving between Greenland and Antarctica in a zigzag route. The bird covers 44,000 miles a year.
I was just going to say birds. I was going to say it has to be, it's a type of bird. I had a question. I had a question about China. And
I completely disrupted your thought pattern.
You got me thinking about birds now. But
very important piece of information.
Very valuable. Yeah.
Wow. Nicholas is a really long question here, which will probably hide Refael's face. So I'm just going to quickly bring it up.
When you ship LCL, what can the freight forwarder do and not do to save on cost when consolidating shipments? For instance, could they consolidate before the export clearance to spread the clearance cost on several clients? Import goods under their own yearly custom bond and sort of hacks, or is it impossible? In which case, why for Facebook quote final one on cheaper freighters? All right, that's a very good question and a complicated question. Shipping out of China less than container loads. There are, I would say today there are about 8 to 10 different consolidated products. When I say consolidated products, I mean you have a full container load going directly to Amazon, all right, to many different Amazon warehouses. For example, FTW1 is one of the biggest Amazon locations. We, as a company, and many other freight forwarding company in China has a direct consolidation, which means if you have 2 CBM, we can pick up your cargo, put it in our container with many other different clients, and that container goes directly to FTW1. ONT8 has that container, SMF3 has that container, TEB6. Many big Amazon warehouses, we have direct containers going into that route. That's one type of consolidation. Another type of consolidation is a container that goes to an LA-based warehouse, unloads the container, and then shipped by UPS. That's what they call C plus UPS. They have all different kinds of name for it. The consolidated gets unloaded and delivered by trucking companies. There are fast services that, faster boats and faster vessels that goes and distributed with UPS or FedEx. That's Sea Express, what they call it. There's DDP, DDU. There's so many products out there, and I get it. It's very, very confusing for a regular Amazon seller. So the ways to save money is, if you are going into a consolidated container, what's happened is that you're gonna pay export for your own goods, all right? For exporting out of China, you gotta pay pickup for your own goods because you pick it, the freight forwarder picks up your own goods. But what happens is, once it gets consolidated, the vessel leaves and the container gets imported under the freight forwarder's bond, all right? And the cost gets split by everybody in that container. The sea freight gets split by everybody in that container. The trucking cost, to get the container from the port to the warehouse gets split. So everything from departure, from sea freight up to delivery, everything gets split. And the reason you are getting quote $500 by Chinese freight forwarder on Facebook and $1,000 from Freightos is that on Freightos, we sell on Freightos as well. We are very active on Freightos as well. And on Freightos, there is a very, very harsh feedback system. So if you and people will slash you, people will kill you. And those consolidated services, a lot of them are unreliable. It takes time. You gotta consolidate everybody. You have to custom clear so many goods together. It's not as stable as a regular traditional LCL where I take only your cargo, ship it out, custom clear your own cargo, and I have responsibility for all the chain from pickup until delivery. It's done specifically for you, and it's obviously more expensive. So on Freightos, we also sell only LCL shipments, and we don't sell consolidated shipments because these products are slower, these products are less controllable, and people will just slash you on Freightos with the feedback, with the reviews. That's why
when you say products, you mean service, your services.
Yeah. For me, it's products. Yeah, but it's shipping services. So that's why on Freightos, it's more expensive because freight forwarders don't usually sell consolidated services on Freightos because people will kill them on the reviews. All right, most of the people buying on Freightos are unexperienced, unexperienced sellers, and if they get delayed, they don't care. They'll just give you a 1-star review, and then your sales on Freightos will drop. And you got to be very, very efficient, very, very good on Freightos. That's why it's more expensive.
I think what stood out to me was the fact that Nicholas also said that, why is a freight forwarder who contacted me on Facebook? You got to be really, really careful when trusting a random freight forwarder. Refael, you said it the other day in the Alpha group, and you said you got to remember that any average Joe, especially in China, can just put up a website or just give a service on Alibaba, pay I think $2,000, $3,000 to be a gold supplier, and say, hey, I'm a freight forwarder.
What I said is a lot of the courses and mentors teach people to find the freight forwarder on Alibaba, and that's scary because on Alibaba, you and me can go on Alibaba and become a gold supplier tomorrow. Pay $1,500, $1,500 for a year, and you are a gold supplier on Alibaba. Put some pictures there. Any random guy can pick up your cargo and then help you. Ask for ransom, and we've seen it in your group. I don't know, yesterday that someone asked from somebody $1,500 for storage for 3 days in China, and and it's
you got to be really, really careful. I can say from my experience and through living through other people's products as well, you got to be really careful who you trust when it comes to shipping, and you have to be the reason that Refael also said that I think I have so much to say. I think that number one, right now, like the logistics world that we're living in, you got to be really careful who you trust with your cargo. That's number one. And that's why I think the same way that Kian preaches a relationship with your supplier, let's not forget that having a relationship with your freight forwarder is also extremely important. How many times has Refael saved me or Unicargo specifically saved me or saved other people. Not just that, people that have built a relationship with their shipping company. That's, I think it's just as important as building a relationship with your supplier.
Stop pitching Unicargo, then it will kill me.
No, I'm not. I said not just Unicargo. It's not just Unicargo in general. I think that also it's not something that is spoken about as enough. No, I'm not talking about Unicargo specifically. I'm talking about building a relationship with your freight forwarder as well, or even if it's just your 3PL. Because when shit happens, good luck trying to. And I'm not bringing down specifically, Chinese freight forwarders, but good luck finding someone who's going to care about your stock and help you. And I think that right now is a very, very important time to make sure that you're working on that type of relationship as well.
To have somebody on the other line, on the other side of the line, you can actually call somebody.
You can actually speak to them. Yeah, and I think that it's really, really it's really dangerous to just go in a Facebook group and say, hey, can someone recommend a freight forwarder? First of all, who the hell do you do you know the person who's recommending a freight forwarder?
I gotta talk about that.
It's such a
sorry, Sharon. It's killing me, and I see it every single day. It's killing me. Everybody who recommends on Facebook is a fake profile. Every single person that you see these posts, hey, please recommend a freight forwarder, and you see this recommends this, and this recommend himself, and this recommend this, and 90% of them are fake profiles, paid advertising, promoting themselves. Be careful of that. Go into their profiles, try to talk to them. It's crazy. Most of them are Chinese, yeah. I don't have nothing against Chinese. I have very good friends Chinese. My biggest business partner is Chinese, and I love her, but be careful. They have a different business ethics, that's for sure.
I think also something that is important to say about Nicholas' question about how can one person give me one price and another person give me another price. There's also a lot of dodgy things when it comes to logistics that usually, specifically Chinese freight forwarders will do, but in general, a lot of pretending the different HS code in order to not pay tariffs and all sorts of dodgy things. And you've got to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. I think it's very important as well. But as we start to wrap it up, and we want to give a little bit of hope to people because, like we said, logistics is currently broken, and it's important to understand what's currently happening. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not going to be forever. It's for right now. And the thing is, I don't really think that life is ever going to go back to normal. I think that it's just going to be different, and life in general, right? This is the way I look at the world today after COVID. I don't think it's going to go specifically back to normal. I think it's going to be different. And I think that part of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is you just have to adjust. You can't sit around and cry about it. You just have to find, diversify, and you have to pivot, and you have to find different ways to do things. And you know what? For some people, it may make more sense right now to source locally. Straight up, it may make sense for some people now to source in America specifically, or to source in the UK specifically, and not, go outside of China. Not for all products, obviously, but for some people, it could make sense. Yeah. Do you guys anyone have any last thoughts before we start to wrap it up? Refael?
I mean, as you said, things are gonna get back to a different normal, but a bit different normal. But I really expect things to get much better in 2021. I would say hopefully May, June, we'll start seeing things ease up a bit, and starting to get into the rates we are more familiar with, and the equipment availability that we are used to in China, and the efficiency in China. Hopefully in May, June, it'll go back to normal. But yeah, you just gotta be positive, right? That's being an entrepreneur. Look at the bright side, find the right way of doing things, and adjusting your business and yourself.
Cool. Thank you for that, Refael. Kian, do you have any last words for us before we?
Yeah, for sure. I would say let's look at the positives, because it's not all doom and gloom. you know, we're all in this together in that, okay, logistics is affected, which means anyone who ships anything is affected. It's not like it's just affecting your business, it's also affecting your competition. So there are other ways to add value to your customers, other ways to get sales. So let's just try and figure that out, because I always feel like entrepreneurs get paid to solve problems, and we're in an issue here. Now let's figure out, like, you know, how we get out of it. But yeah, one other thing, which is, I guess, is a positive, is that I feel that with Biden coming into office, he's definitely going to reduce the tariffs in which Trump imposed on Chinese goods. So we could see that Chinese goods will start to become a little bit cheaper because of the tariff situation. However, I was thinking that he would do it like quite soon as he got into office, but I read some things that he said he was going to delay it. He was going to think about it. He was going to review his China strategy, use this as leverage a little bit. So I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but I think in the next few months, we'll start to see Chinese tariffs come down. So some goods might become more of a big opportunity now when those tariffs come down. And I'm personally going to look into the opportunity of manufacturing containers now that I know there's such a shortage. I've got some connections, so I think I'll have a new business pretty soon.
Owen said, I'm not a fake and I'm not Chinese, but I do often recommend companies I deal with. But Refael is right. Do check out early recommendations. So obviously, Refael didn't mean that everyone is a fake. He was just saying that there are a lot of fake companies out there, and not everyone is, of course. Right, Refael? That's what you meant.
Not a fake companies, a fake recommendations. Yeah.
Yeah, fake, which is not everyone. That's not true. You know, I recommend you guys all the time.
Everyone.
So, yeah, no, not everyone. He's joking. He's joking. Nicholas asked, Kian, with the freight cost increase and the pandemic, are you trying to source more products in the US or Europe directly?
No. Not really, right? Because, and here's why, right? Because there are certain products that I only source from other countries. I source in countries which specialize in that type of product, and a country specializes in a product based on the raw materials that they have access to. So for example, I do buy some products from India, and stuff from India is like cotton and canvas and leather and those types of products, because that's what they're strong for. And also because India is part of the Commonwealth, UK is part of the Commonwealth, so there's no import duty from India into the UK. So those are reasons why I would ship from other countries, but I wouldn't ship from another country just because the price has maybe gone up in China or lockdowns in China, because there's lockdowns in other parts of the world as well. And the final thing is that, like, what China gives you apart from like the workforce and skilled labor and like things like that, is that they give you scale. You know, like, what other country in the world can if you need 10,000 of something made in 1 month, what other country in the world can do that for you? So like, maybe if you want to do like some handcraft products, or you're starting out, maybe potentially look at other countries. But if you want to get into big business, like, China is definitely the place to be.
I 100% agree with that. And
Chinese government should actually pay me. I do a lot of promotion for China.
You do. I was just going to say that that's why I straight away said that your answer to that would be no, just so for a little bit of fun. Sabi said, thanks guys, great show. I'm off to do some baking and carving. I have to say that I did recently get a lot of people send me messages and say that they're freaking out. Some of it was political, which I'm not going to get into, and start asking me, you know, does it make sense to source? We also on Clubhouse were asked these questions as well, Kian, when we hosted a room. Does it make sense to source locally? Just like how Nicholas said, products in the US and Europe. I think your answer is perfect, and I agree with it 100%. It really needs to make sense. And I think that lately, personally, I've had a lot of Americans specifically reach out to me and say that they want to start, you know, finding local suppliers, and that's a really good thing that you just said. Like, good luck finding a local supplier that's going to be able to get you speed to market wise 10,000 units, because, you know, something that could take 3 weeks, let's just say in China, may take 3 months, you know, in America as well. And one other thing to remember is last year, I know that I said on my YouTube channel, I said, you know, am I going to get out of China right now? Well, you know, no, because of many different reasons. And then also, little did we know that it was going to turn into, you know, an epidemic, and it was going to be worldwide. And it's something important to remember, that maybe you want it tomorrow. I'll be honest, I don't know what the situation is like in Mexico. I'm just using this as an example. Maybe you're like, well, instead I'm going to get my leather products from Mexico, and then tomorrow Mexico goes into full lockdown, you know? So the whole world's in this kind of situation. Yeah, the whole world's also unpredictable. Probably the only country that's predictable is New Zealand right now, but which is where I was born and grew up. And kind of miss it right now. Anyway, Stephen said, great content. Logistics doesn't get discussed enough. So this is refreshing. Yaro said, thanks, guys. Kian, if anyone wants to reach you or meet you or see you or whatever, where do they find you?
You can take a flight to Dubai and we can hang out.
No, with seriousness, if they want to find you, where can someone contact you?
Yeah, for sure. So YouTube and Facebook, I've got a group, got a channel, Sourcing with Kian, the name of both of them. I'm also on Instagram, Kian_JG. And yeah, you feel free to reach out.
And you're also on Clubhouse.
I'm on Clubhouse, yeah. I'm enjoying it at the moment, actually. We're having some good sessions in there.
I wonder how long it's going to take for you to be a celebrity on like hardcore celebrity on Clubhouse. Refael, who I don't know if is on Clubhouse yet, needs to be. Refael, if anyone wants to contact you, where can they find you and get in touch with you?
These days, find me on Facebook, I would say. Find me on Facebook, send me a message, and we'll take it from there.
I'm going to say also that they could email you at refael@unicargo.com. And they could, and Refael is spelled Refael, not like other people spell Refael. Yeah. And also me, if anyone wants to contact me, you can also see my YouTube channel, Sharon Evan. Thank you everyone today. And thank you for Danny for allowing us all to be here, and have an awesome day.
Thanks,
Bye,
Danny.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed that episode with Sharon and Refael. And if you are on social media, please connect with me on Instagram, where I am Kian_JG, as well as if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, you can book me at the below link, calendly.com/sourcing with Kian. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you join our Facebook community, also called Sourcing with Kian, where there's a bunch of, I think there's over 4,000 of us now, where we all just help each other out regarding sourcing. But hope you guys enjoyed that. I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.